Fill your plate now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
Welcome to Fill Your Plate Now. And Julie, we have a great show ahead and a special treat too.
We do. What did you say just before we started?
I said
this is going to be a test in
self-control,
Yeah.
because we have in front of us the most amazing gelato I have ever tasted from Villa Dolce. And we have with us Chef Meegan Roberts, the head of Culinary Innovations at Villa Dolce Gelato. Just to give you a little information about Meegan, she was Pastry Chef of the Year for 2025 with the Arizona Chefs Association. She's a nationally recognized pastry chef, mentor, and community advocate with a passion for creating desserts that make an impact. After training under CMC Hartmut Hankey, I may have slaughtered that, and competing nationally 3 times, she found her culinary home here in Phoenix. She's a single parent and a former corporate chef for Cisco. Meegan fell in love with Villa Dolce Gelato, a company whose values of servant leadership and social impact mirrored her own. And as head of Culinary Innovations, Meegan leads with a purpose. She and Villa Dolce support job training for individuals, overcoming barriers through Catalyst Kitchens, where Meegan also develops desserts for their national fundraiser with Jacques Pepin Foundation. Yeah. Okay. She teaches baking and pastry at UMOM's Homegrown Culinary Program, mentors CCAP, and Ironwood High School culinary team, supports ACF's Chef and Child Nutrition Initiative, and brings joy to foster youth through love and wishes. You know, I know a lot of us do some charitable work, but this made me feel so inferior that I need to be out there doing a whole lot more. And when I was looking at this Loves and Wishes programs, it's so sweet. They put together birthday boxes and cookies to foster youth. So amazing, all of the things that you're doing. And on top of that, I have tasted some of your creations, and you are an amazing chef as well. So welcome.
Thank you.
To this week's episode. And we wanted to just start out by hearing a little bit about you, how you first became interested in the culinary field.
So I actually, I started out in art school.
Oh.
And I was about 2 years into my program, and I needed to have a job. And so I started working in the culinary field where, you know, when I was in high school, I was bussing tables and washing dishes, but just for extra money. But I definitely needed to have more of a serious job to be able to afford school. So I just fell in love with it, and a plate became my canvas, and I was able to create. And I started out on the savory side because until you really thoroughly, like in pastry is extremely creative, and just, I mean, thinking of the colors and the textures and the taste, it's extremely creative. However, you have to really, there's a lot of science. And for a creative person, I do not possess, you know, both like analytical thinking and creativity. So it was very difficult for me. And so I really kind of like, you know, got my feet wet on the savory side for a long time. And then later went on and went after. So I went to culinary school and I graduated with my chef certification. But then I later went on, after being in the industry for a few years, and then went in to specialize and went back to school for pastry. So
amazing. And I would have never thought that as a chef going through training, that you definitely have to start, or you at least have to delve into both sides, the savory side, to your point, and the sweet tooth.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, because like the plate became your canvas, as you just said, it also sounds like you get to be an artist in the kitchen, more so with your pastries and stuff like that.
Very much so.
So my question for you then is, what inspired you to join the gelato team here at Villa Dolce? if I said that right.
Yeah, Villa Dolce. So I got to know them. It was a really cool interview process because it went on for like 3 years, and I met them early on. I moved to Arizona in December. It'll be 9 years, and so I transferred out here with Cisco from Cisco Cleveland to Cisco Arizona, and so. I always loved their brand. I love their products, but I was so impressed with just the packaging, the marketing, and the team at Villa Dolce. And so whenever they needed to do plating demos or video shoots, they would ask me to come over, and they'd pay me in gelato, and which is by all means. So I would go over and I would work on some different plating and photography shoots with them, and so that's how I got to know the family and learn more about the brand and the quality of the product. So when COVID happened. It really, everybody kind of pivoted, and for Villa Dolce, they were able to bring me on board, and just at the tail end of COVID, and so the role was created to design a collection of desserts, but we weren't ready yet. But in addition to our gelato collection, we also we've recently launched in November a collection of desserts. And so while I still work on new formulations for flavors in our gelato line, as well as our co-packing business, which we can get into a little bit later, but the desserts too. So, and then that role, it's just, I think you always know that you're where you're supposed to be at the time you're supposed to be there, when everything that you've worked towards and things that you've learned throughout your career, throughout your life, really you're able to exercise a lot of those skills that you forgot you had. And so, like, with having a background in art, and my focus was in photography at one time, but it was actually before digital photography. That was, when, you were in a dark room. But that became a big part of my job, and so I'm so blessed that that the family at Villa Dolce, that they've embraced any and every skill that I have, and they've really they've made me so much better as a chef, but as a human being, as a chef, and just on the pastry side as well.
That's
Tammy,
amazing.
I think Meegan is in her sweet spot.
Yeah.
I am in my sweet spot. Yes.
Very funny. No, but it just, all the things you have done, and this being July Ice Cream Month, we thought it'd be fitting to talk about gelato and some of these wonderful products you all have. It sounds like they had put the company together before you came on board, but could you tell us a little bit about the history of how they started it?
Yeah, so Villa Dolce actually was founded in 2001. And so they started out in retail, and they had a couple of shops in California. And then they started servicing some top-tier white tablecloth fine dining restaurants in the California, LA specifically area. And so that led them into food service. And so that food service business just kept ramping up to the point where, so in 2007 is when the food service started. And to keep up with those demands, they ended up having to open up another facility. So that facility was in North Phoenix. And so in 2013, they bought their second factory, and then co-packing business started shortly after that. And so both factories were extremely busy, but it was always, a plan to consolidate and, have just, one headquarters, one factory. And Phoenix, we're very lucky to have it is a great company. I work for a great company, so a great partner of the community. And so we opened up our 76,000 square foot facility. It'll be 2 years on October 14th.
Wow. Yeah, we always try to promote local, so it's great to have you here in the Valley.
Yeah, super cool. And Tammy, I know you probably know the answer to this question, the non-nutritionist and not the dairy expert like you, but I want to understand what the difference between gelato and ice cream is.
So Gelato, I joke, ice cream wishes it was gelato. So with ice cream, the butterfat content can be anywhere from 10% to 25%. With gelato, so versus gelato where, it's 3% to 8% butterfat. So a lower butterfat, but then that also creates a more dense product.
Okay.
And a lot cleaner label typically. I mean, you do have some premium ice creams out there that, have a pretty clean label, but they're all going to have more air than gelato will. So gelato, you're always going to incorporate less air into gelato. So, a premium ice cream can, be, 100% air incorporated into it. But gelato, you're only going to have around 35% air incorporated into it. And that goes with our sorbettos as well.
But a lot of the baseline ingredients, then between the two is fairly not really.
It depends because some ice cream contains egg, some does not.
Oh, okay.
Some contains cream, some just contains milk. Some is non-dairy, so it's more in the what classifies it, and the distinctive difference is the butterfat content, and then we call it the overrun, but it's the air that is incorporated into the product.
Okay.
So if you take a gallon of our product and you take a gallon of a fairly inexpensive ice cream, because ice cream and gelato are both sold by volume, not by weight. So if you hold the two next to each other, one is going to weigh drastically different and drastically more than the other. So when you're eating ice cream and when you're buying ice cream and you're buying a lower quality product, you're also buying air.
Okay. And I love them both, but one thing I've noticed, and maybe it verifies, to your point, the way gelato is made, gelato a lot of times does just simply taste smoother on your palate.
Yeah.
So that's part of the process because there's not as much air in there.
Yeah, well, it's that silky mouthfeel that you get comes from like the density, but then also, the quality of ingredients that are going into it. So, if you're, an ice cream, I'll just use pistachio, for example. Because our pistachio, it's a velvety, lovely texture, and we don't fold in, we call them inclusions. We don't fold in any whole nut pistachio, so you just get a really velvety mouthfeel and a nice, a nice fatty. I don't want to say fat. I mean, fatty's not the right description for it because rich, decadent.
Rich. Okay.
But if I was serving pistachio ice cream, that ice cream, you're going to have, your ice cream base with the addition of like a pistachio extract. So you're not going to get that like richness, fattiness, creaminess, like a peanut butter consistency versus when we make our pistachio gelato. So you have your lower butterfat content, but then you're incorporating, so we pulverize our pistachios and we make it into a paste. Okay. And so that paste then is blended into our gelato base, and so you get a really rich, decadent. So you just can't you can't get that from an extract. You can't get that full flavor. It's just when you use extracts, even like really high quality extracts, a lot of times they're like one note, or you taste them on the back end or the front end. You don't taste them all the way through. So
I just love listening to her explain all this.
I know.
So we have our pistachio here, and as we're asking the questions,
I'm eyeing the Belgium dark chocolate
okay,
myself.
so you're going to try that.
Yeah.
So as Tammy asks her question, I'm going to sample your pistachio.
Well, it sounds like then gelato has a standard of identity, just like ice cream has a standard of identity that you have to stay within. And I love, love, love that you guys are local, and that means you employ people locally as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have a very strong team that we built since opening our factory in 2013, and with a very low turnover rate. So a lot of our team has been there since those doors opened. So it's to be able to have that, the training, the camaraderie between our team members It's, and new ones coming in, they're welcoming. So, and we've had so many new team members because, we've grown so much. So, but I think we just had such a strong sense of culture to start with that we had like the longevity of the careers of our team members. They're in it for the long term, and most of them are not in the same position that they started in. And so when you think about production, you can take, there's so much to learn about pasteurization. There's so much to learn on the packaging line. And it's people have the opportunity to move around quite a bit. But we shut down Santa Clarita. So that was our original facility. We shut down Santa Clarita in 2022. I think it was April of 2022 when we shut that facility down. And we actually had, I love that team because when I would do R&D, I would go to California to do R&D.
Oh, nice.
And we were so fortunate that we convinced quite a few of them to come here.
Come to Arizona.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, how many employees does it take to operate the facility?
Well, for us now, we're at about 70.
Wow.
So we have, so if you think, our operation in Santa Clarita and our operation in North Phoenix, we only had one line running at a time. So, but we were still, it's not that we brought on additional products. It's just we're streamlining the process. So we went from those single lines that if you're in production of ice cream sandwiches and 5-liter tubs, you have to switch the line over completely. Versus now we have 4 continuous lines. One being a bulk filler head, which produces our 3-gallon tubs. We don't currently have 3-gallon tubs of gelato, but we co-pack for quite a few companies, and that line is constantly running for our co-packing customers. Then we have our second line, which is our retail pack line, and it goes from a 3.6-ounce cup to a 64-ounce scround. So a lot of retail,
Okay.
And we pack for a lot of national brands on that line as well. And then we have our 5-liter tub line, so that we only produce gelato for ourselves. So that's just the Villa Dolce line. And then we have our ice cream sandwich line, and our ice cream sandwich line, so we produce for both ourselves, and I know I should have brought you some ice cream sandwiches.
I'm enjoying the pistachio.
Yeah, you're making quite a dent in that pistachio there.
But the ice cream sandwich line, we actually, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to share this. Costco was a big project that I was working on last year, and so now Costco, but it's not under our brand. It's Rico Gelato. So now they've picked up our ice cream sandwiches as well. So
Oh, good. That's fantastic. I remember when you all were discussing that when we first met, that you were going to be doing that. That's great.
So I'm sampling the Sicilian pistachio, and it's excellent. And
Thank you.
There's a pistachio story. So we have a pistachio tree industry here in Arizona. We're a fraction of the size as the pistachio industry, obviously, in California, but we grow amazing pistachio trees and produce amazing pistachio nuts, just as an FYI. The only reason I know that is my dad used to have a pistachio seedling nursery and used to sell all over the state and outside. Most of the mature dates, because he started this in the 70s, most of the, mature groves are in Cochise County. And those mature groves are probably 40-plus years old.
Wow.
So anyway, I feel like I'm a connoisseur when it comes to pistachio. This is fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you.
And so as I continue to sample this pistachio and maybe some of the other flavors, this may not be fair to ask you, but what's a typical day for you at Villa Dolce?
So my role has become kind of a hybrid role. It's great because when I was first brought on with the company, Monty, our CEO, said, "Well, I promise you will never get bored," and he was not lying. Wow. So my day it varies day to day, but I always have to actually my day is always planning ahead, so it's always working ahead. It's I have to have pretty much my month mapped out. only because when we're not just dealing with our own business, we're also dealing with co-packing customers. So, when a big opportunity comes along, or, there's an issue in production, like I automatically need to pivot and start working on that project. So so a typical day would be possibly doing like some R&D in the lab. Yeah, so working on different samples for customers. There's a big customer in Las Vegas right now, and they've asked us to produce 4 of their flavors. And in trade, they will give us all of their gelato business. So we're talking like, $1 million of business. So for that, I need to push, I need to put my social media off to the side for a second and start focusing on that. So, working with suppliers and, making sure that I can get the products that I need to produce those items. Also working with our logistics team, and with having our new dessert line, I work on spec sheets, I work on nutritionals, I work on packaging, I do the food photography for all of our products. I'm involved in marketing. I write newsletters. So there's a lot of different things. So no day it's. Wow. Yeah, but that's
not
why
typical.
No, and so it's. But it honestly is like a chef's dream job, because I have complete creative freedom, and I just have to get really creative with my time to be able to make sure I get everything accomplished that I need to.
So really, then, some of these flavors that we can experience, you've probably done the research and development on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What types of flavors do you have? Is this the entire line, or tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so we currently have 37 flavors, and that, we've decreased our amount of flavors, but just like, any restaurant, you have to constantly evaluate your menu items, and, you have to look at the profitability of all of them, but then also, if they're not selling well, you need to look at, do we eliminate it, or do we replace it, or do we need to execute it differently? So, so we currently offer 37 flavors.
Wow, 37.
Yeah, and they're all pretty solid. So it's, I'll just give you an example. So being head of innovations, we were working on a chocolate martini gelato, and it was delicious. It was delicious. But during the shelf study process, I learned that after about 10 months, because I was actually using gin, it took on like a flavor of mint after 10 months. So we had to eliminate that one. Yeah. So. But the other thing is when you put a new product into your portfolio of like 37 well-selling flavors, it's how is chocolate martini going to hold up to Belgian dark chocolate? It's never going to sell as well. So if it doesn't make good business sense to produce that item, then it's because we're not looking at and this is something, and I just remember this from the restaurant industry, like you can't please everyone. So you can't create, and especially in manufacturing, because, you're selling things by the truckload. So it's, if you have let's say a dozen customers that love this product, unfortunately, if it doesn't really take off, then we can't
sustain it.
No.
So what's the most popular flavor? And even though you kind of highlighted the distinction between ice cream and gelato, but after telling us your top selling flavor, how exactly do you make it gelato?
Well, so it starts with high quality dairy,
yes,
of course, and then you pasteurize the base. Mm-hmm. So from the base, then you take whether it be pistachio, whether it be like a dulce de leche, or a maple. Then you take those flavors and you pulverize it into a liquefier, and so that becomes a nice liquid base. And then that liquid base churns slowly. and runs through a continuous freezer and gets deposited out into whatever the vessel, the container, whether it be a 5-liter pan, or like for our artisan gelato sandwiches, that gets dispensed into like pucks in between 2 sandwiches. But yeah, so pasteurization, then it goes to a flavor tank. So we have just like if you think about like a mother sauce, that mother sauce. So the 5 mother sauces in culinary, there's derivatives from there. So if you think of hollandaise, you also have béarnaise. You have all these different sauces that come off of that mother sauce. So our white base represents probably about maybe 30 to 40% of our gelato flavors. So that base gets transferred into those flavor tanks. So you can branch off, and you can, after you pasteurize, you can fill 3 different flavor tanks and technically make 3 different flavors of gelato.
Wow.
But that doesn't really happen with our volume anymore, because we are SQF level 3.
Which means
Just the highest in food
quality.
safety. Yeah.
Food safety and quality. Oh, okay.
So what?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, just, when we run production, you always start with the least amount of allergens first. So if you were doing a sorbet that day, there's no dairy allergens, so you start there. Then you would introduce like Madagascar vanilla bean gelato. So now you've introduced dairy. And then you might introduce like torta al limon, which contains gluten. And then after that, like if I was running, those 4 flavors, then the last one I would run was like the pure Sicilian pistachio, because now we've introduced a nut.
So
And-
you have gluten-free
Yeah.
gelato. Oh.
Most of our flavors, there's very few flavors. We do have 2 of them here that do contain gluten, but most of them are gluten-free, and then quite a few of our flavors are kosher as well.
Wow.
The other point, my vibe is, because I certainly know that based on what you said about the pistachio, these are natural flavors. You're actually getting pistachio nuts. Another one of excellent that I tried flavors was the hazelnut chocolate crunch. So good.
You are making your way through the flavors. I'm still on Belgium dark chocolate.
Yes. And did you like it?
It's amazing.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
From discussions I know we've had before too, you go to great lengths to find the right, like for instance the chocolate for the Belgium dark chocolate, or some of the other ingredients that make the flavoring. Tell us a little bit about that. Where all do you, like Madagascar, what were you saying? Madagascar vanilla beans.
Yep.
Do they come from
Madagascar, yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
So you go to a source that you know is really has very high quality.
Well,
product.
it's high quality, but then also you have to make sure that the source also has best business practices too. So there are plenty of Madagascar vanilla bean flavors out there and beans that you can purchase, but are they all, but what's the company, is there child labor laws involved? But then also, it's at the end of the day, it's a business and we have to make money. So a part of my job is, cutting ingredients and making sure, like, 1, we're sourcing the highest quality, but 2, we can make the product the most profitable too as well. So yeah, I mean, it's it's integrity. Like we try to only partner with companies of integrity, but a lot of the there are some companies that transfer over from ice cream and gelato ingredients, but there are very specific gelato ingredient suppliers out there, and most of them come out of Europe. So we've, during COVID, and remember I came on at the tail end of COVID, so I didn't experience all the headaches that our team did during that period. But when you're waiting to make a flavor and they're telling you like, nope, it's still on the water, and so your hands are tied and you have to look at sourcing, some ingredients domestically. But that was a good thing for us because, our raspberries, they come out of Chile, but then they also, now we get them half of the year, we get them from the Pacific Northwest.
You just opened the door for Julie to try another flavor.
I just tried the Madagascar vanilla bean. It's excellent. I think
got quite a-
besides
quite
the
a-
pistachio, I think that one's my favorite. But hey, we got a taste sample here.
No, these are amazing, and
They
I
are
know
amazing.
much of your business business to business,
Yeah.
not directly to consumer. But if they wanted to try some of this fantastic gelato, what would be some of the
how would they do
restaurants
it?
locally that might carry it?
Well, it's a good possibility that if gelato is on their menu, it is Villa Dolce. However, we don't require any of our customers to promote Villa Dolce brand. So, although we do have brand recognition, so sometimes they choose to make mention on the menu that it's Villa Dolce brand. We don't require it. So, because I am kind of in sales, but it's a hybrid role, so I don't know who. I know we sell a lot of gelato. I don't know exactly who, but like the Majori Group, Mastro's. I mean, those are two big players in the Phoenix area that I know purchase quite a bit of our gelato. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the resorts, a lot of the country clubs, casinos. It's yeah. Chances are, if it's gelato, there's some competition out there, but I think we dominate the country, but we definitely dominate the Phoenix market too.
It's easy to see why. It's amazing.
Yeah. I just, again, tried the Rosanna raspberry. That's cute. And every one of these flavors is top notch. It really touches the palate immediately. It's very tasty. And maybe you've kind of already alluded to this, but what's your favorite part of the job? Is it that research and development when you're trying to come up with a new flavor? 4 of them that I've now tasted. Or, what is the favorite part of your job?
I think I'm so blessed and I feel rewarded in a lot of different areas. But I think that probably my favorite part of the job is getting to work with other professionals and collaborate, because I always like just continuous education and always learning is that's what inspires me. And so I think that really working with the end user and getting to work intimately and learn more about their business, and then just be a part of the solution, and working on menu development with them. It's just, I love that connection, and I mean that's gelato brings people together, and they make that connection. So I think that that's probably my favorite part. But there's so many different aspects, but I really I don't get bored, but I also I get to work on such high quality products and with such high caliber chefs, because we are a premier product. So
that's a thought. So do some of these chefs that want it in their restaurants, since you're more business to business in your product, are they coming out to connect with you, to talk about the development of a new flavor, or are you just simply going to where they're at and visiting with them about what you guys are producing?
So it happens in many different ways. So we love hosting. We absolutely love hosting guests, and especially chefs. And we're actually working on an event right now on the 16th. It's a beer and dessert pairing. And we're also doing a gelato sorbet and beer flight. So we're working with a local brewer from Lake Havasu, who actually has the #1 solar brewery in the country.
Oh, how fun.
So Mudshark Brewery. So wait, what was the question? I'm sorry. What was I going?
So when you said working with the chefs, I just got a vibe that they're either coming your way or you're coming their way, or.
Yeah. Okay. So for this event, we have. I'm hoping to have about 60 chefs. So it's for the American Culinary Federation, our monthly meeting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So we're partnering with a local farmer. We're partnering with Mudshark Brewery. We also have Desert Peak Marketing, who we're using all of their china. So we have all these businesses, local businesses coming together, and presenting to 60 chefs from the valley. But so that's one, and then we're also going to host a bocce ball tournament for our 2nd year anniversary. Perfect. Yeah, and invite chefs from all over. But there's a food service circuit where there's national shows throughout the year. The big one that just happened, the National Restaurant Association, the NRA in Chicago. So there's Pizza Expo in Las Vegas every year, but there's all these national shows that our sales team goes to. So we have a sales team that will go and present at these shows, and they get quite a few leads. And so we have one sales manager that represents the West Coast, and then we have another sales manager that represents the East Coast. And then our VP of sales, he kind of like handles the Midwest. But what we really try to do, because our sales team is so slim and we sell through distributors, so it's our job to make sure that we're training the distributors' sales team. So they're an extension of us. So we always try to stay top of mind to them. And, we do local shows, in different markets for those distributors. And then, and just stay connected. And like for me, whenever I go out on, and I do go out on sales calls, mainly with the dessert line right now, because it really, like, to get it going strong, it needed the technician behind it to really, take it to market. And when I go out on sales calls, it's always with a sales rep. I never
go by yourself.
No, I'm not a salesperson. Like, I'm not very good at it. So yeah,
which is good to do. And I got one more question related to all this. Who is the farmer that's going to hang out with you? Because I may know him.
Oh, Farmer Paul.
Farmer
Paul Roby.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh.
One of our dairy farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be great.
Yeah, well, he's Farmer Paul's been awesome. I was working with his sheep's milk, and I made a couple of flavors of like just prototypes out of his sheep's milk. But unfortunately, it's I don't have a use for it. But I was trying, because those poor sheep, they can't get off of their mothers yet, because there's not an outlet for the sheep's milk. But yeah, so he has A2 Wagyu beef, and so we have a Christmas party every year, and so we use his products for that. But then we host quite a few customers, so when we have the ability to bring those customers in, we love to host them and we love to cook for them. And so
you'll need to tell for Tammy and I both, hi, Farmer Paul from Tammy and Julie.
I certainly will. Yeah, he was at our last ACF meeting too, and so it was great because he got to connect with the chefs and the ACF organization, so they can do because he's business to business. So
yeah, he's got a great product. He really does. And with so many different things going on, is there anything you would consider challenging in your job?
Yeah.
Oh. Let's see. Really just always trying to find a balance. So it's your work is never done, and there's always so much more you can do. And with our community outreach especially, it's we always want to do so much more. So you have to just be creative. But I think the biggest challenge is you always you can't take advantage of any moment. If you have, extra time in a day, you really need to make sure you plan ahead, and that's going to keep us at the top of the gelato game. And it's always going to, we're going to be able to better serve our customers, by preparing in advance. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is just always, making sure that, we're working ahead and, doing things with integrity and happy. And yeah, that's the other thing, like always, being excited. And yeah, because if you don't, you got to start with the best of intentions and the best of ingredients, and the outcome is glorious.
Well, you have an exciting product, and I would love to see the faces on the kids that you bring some of this gelato to, because I bet they absolutely love it.
Oh, well, so next, what is it, at the end of July, we'll be at the ACF convention in Las Vegas, and they have, through the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, they have a division called Chef and Child. And so last year we did it at UMOM, the shelter here in Phoenix, because the national convention was here last year. And so the theme was like taste all the colors of the rainbow. And so we had all these different fruits and vegetables, and we, every child got like a disposable cutting board and like a plastic knife, and they got to cut different. They learned about rinsing the vegetables. We had some wash station, and some of them, they've never had kiwi, or they've never had mango, and so we talked about, and we had scrolling footage that, they could learn a little bit more about like how they're grown, what regions they're grown in. And so, and then at the end, they took all of their fruits that they cut up, and then they made their own sorbet bowls. And then we also partnered with Laura's Granola. And so then they garnished the top of those bowls with Laura's granola. So through Chef and Child, it's all about teaching kids about nutrition. And so for that one, we did 8 non-dairy flavors. So some sorbets and some vegan flavors and coconut milk-based flavors for that. But then this year, we are the reward. So this year's event at National Convention, and sorry, I should have started at the National Convention. They always have a community day before the convention starts. And so,
oh, great.
Yeah, so some of the chefs, so you usually have around 50 chefs that fly in a day early, and then we do a community event, and they always do something with the VA as well that day too. So, but the Chef and Child program, we're at a high school this year, so we'll have about 400 kids, and they each have a passport, and they go around to all these different booths, and they try different fruits and vegetables and healthy alternatives, like hummus or beets, so they'll try all these different fruits, and then if they get their passport filled with all of their stamps, then they get Villa Dolce Gelato. So
that's
get
wonderful.
to be the treat.
That's fantastic. It's so great to see all of the charitable things you all do, as well as just teaching kids about eating healthy and safely preparing food. All of that is
so
amazing.
Good. And because of as busy as you are, and proof of the pudding, proof of the gelato, your flavors are so amazing. What are the expansion plans? You have to be growing with this quality of a product.
So, well, we finished phase 1, and that was, getting all 4 of our lines up and running. Phase 2 is installing more equipment and being able to, ramp up volume, but then also improve efficiencies. But also, I think that it's, I don't think, I know it's, when you have such growth, you also need to make more of an impact in your community. So not even, more so than just being able to provide additional jobs. Like, I think that your outreach needs to broaden even more. And so as we act on a local level, we do quite a bit on a national level too, because we service the entire country. So we're in, I think the last I heard, we have 475 distributors across the country that distribute our product.
Wow.
So it's, in every market we have, 2 broadliners plus, a local distributor, or more of like a provisions specialty distributor. But with the growth, we'll continue to expand our co-packing business. And when we built our 76,000 square foot facility, it was intended to be larger than what we need right now. So the capacity, we didn't expect to exceed capacity in the next 5 years. However,
oh wow,
the blessing in disguise is that we're reaching capacity. So we also have right now we have a 17,000 square foot freezer. But we're going to break ground. I'm not sure what date we're breaking ground, but a 35,000 square foot freezer will be added onto that. So,
whoa, on this at the same property.
Yes, yes.
Oh, you've got room to expand. Then.
Yes.
That's good.
So, but I mean, like our building itself, like you get. The palletization is, it is true engineering, and we're filling up fast. But we also, our docks, so our loading docks, we have we have 2 refrigerated loading docks currently, but you have additional bays that can be punched out. So the loading docks will expand, but again, the building, it was designed to be able to continue to grow. So we also own an acre on the other side of our building where that will be a bakery eventually.
Oh, fun.
So so we'll have just a designated place where we'll be able to produce all of our cookies, because right now we were co-owner of Dulce Ferry, bakery, and that's where we produce all the cookies for all of our sandwiches. But I mean, with bringing on Costco, that's not a
not a
small
small
player.
task.
No.
Not at all.
That's amazing. So the cookies are the cookies for the ice cream sandwiches, or do you do other cookies?
No, just for the ice cream sandwiches.
I was going to say, if you needed milk for those, I know where you can get it. No, that's an amazing product, amazing company, and you are doing an amazing job. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah,
This has
absolutely.
been great.
And then finding the time in your crazy busy schedule, because I know you're also a mom. We just appreciate that you took the time to hang out with us.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, so
Yes.
it has been my pleasure. But so with just the impact that we're trying to make, so with through you, Mom, and on the local level, like the coursework that we teach there, we're really trying to make more of a dent in helping end the epidemic of homelessness. And so we're really trying to build on programs like that, and then also the mentorship programs with CCAP.
Thank you for all that you do, and tell the founders and those that spawned this company and the commitment to the community that they make. Tell them for Tammy and I, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, and if some of our listeners would love to get in touch to learn more about some of these charities or the product or where they can find it, is there an email or
I can share my email.
Okay.
So I'm not that busy. I
You can handle it. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but I always love to, I love to engage with people. So yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
We'll make sure we post it. That'd be great. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
again.
Meegan.
Thank you.